Let's take a look at a video by a channel called Plant-Based News titled Vegan 2022. I suppose this video is meant to turn a normal human vegan. They've got their work cut out for them, but let's see if we change our minds based on the information they provide.
The story begins in 2016 when the Paris Climate Agreement aimed to limit global warming to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with a target of 1.5 degrees.
Even if fossil fuels emissions were eliminated immediately, emissions from the global food system alone would make it impossible to limit warming to 1.5 degrees and difficult enough to realise the target of 2%.
I've seen one too many contradictory conclusions in research about what is actually impacting the environment. So I look at this in two ways. What is reasonable to sacrifice? And what we should be fighting to maintain. I refuse to accept any solution that limits the one and only food that belongs in the human diet: meat. I understand that it's difficult for all people around the world to survive only on meat and that some plant products will be necessary to pick up the slack. The idea of taking the foods we should preserve for emergencies and actively working to make that our only food is nonsensical. Any and every solution should make allowances for proper sources of nutrition for humans. Otherwise, it is not worth backing. I have yet to be convinced that simple consumption of animal products is a major cause for concern. The meat that should be advocated for is ruminant animal meat. But again, we can't supply high-quality meat to everyone. So, whatever local animals that are available should suffice. Ruminant animals are the ones that not only produce healthy soil that makes grass for themselves, but that also makes healthy plants for us. Without them, we have to rely on chemical concoctions to add nutrition to the soil, our food, and ourselves. I would like to be shown evidence for how this is any better for the environment. We will only be able to produce nutritionally inferior plant products that will not nourish a human body well, and if we aren't well fed, we simply aren't well. Any plan should start with making sure humans are well fed, and anything short of that should be laughed out of the room.
The calculation is that if the cereals fed to animals were instead used for direct human consumption, we could feed an extra 3.5 billion people every year.
He says that while showing feed that on first glance doesn't appear to be edible for humans, but that even if it is, it should probably not be what we plan to feed cows or humans. Basically, cows eat grass or hay, which is dried grass. Grass isn't edible to humans. Because no one prioritizes health in any way, we have come to a point where we feed cows stuff they were never meant to eat. They no longer produce healthy manure, and our plants subsequently are less nutritious than they used to be. The cows get sick and require medical treatments. The quality of the meat they produce is inferior to that produced by healthy cows. We eat lower quality meat and lower quality produce all around. We are both sick, human and animal, for this. I don't want to feed 3.5 billion people with cereal. I want them to eat nutritious animal meat and fat so that they receive a generous dose of natural animal-based vitamins and the fat that allows our body to put them to the best use. Not fortified cereals, all the processing of which, again, I would like proof of not being taxing to the environment in and of itself.
Up till now, most businesses haven't been including their emissions from the land sector in their climate change targets when they're doing their accounting.
We use about 4 billion hectares of land globally for food production. About 3 billion of those hectares are used for animal agriculture. So that's the size of China plus India times 2 plus Indonesia. And if we simply allowed that land to rewild, natural carbon sequestration gets you 26 gigatons of carbon sequestration annually.
Research confirmed that once we shift away from animal agriculture, we would free up 75% of agricultural land, with much of it returned to its natural state.
I don't know exactly how this math is supposed to work. I'm to assume that we stop animal agriculture and somehow manage to have healthy grass that is then not going to be used or even needed to grow the amount of plants that you would need to actually make up for the lack of nutrition that will be caused by 8 billion people not eating a single animal product ever in their entire lives. Really?
As TV debates divided opinion throughout early 2022, the main theme of the year centered around the changing supply chain. Companies began working behind the scenes to reboot our food system.
Almost like the space race, the
Yeah.
alternative protein.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a space race you don't know about yet.
Capitalism began finding new ways to give consumers the things they love without destroying our planet.
And there's your problem right there. Give consumers the things they love in a health-promoting way. No, in a way that I still have yet to be convinced won't destroy the planet. What is the point of having a planet at all if most, if not all, people are depressed, demented, or dying for the lack of the comparably more complete nutrition that is found in the animal kingdom?
The oldest hospital in America has the first plant-based unit where we are going to use reversal of diseases thanks to people like Dr. Kat.
Honestly, the prevalence of these modern diseases is easily tracked with the increase of processed foods like sugars and oils, primary components of a vegan diet, by the way, and the decrease in consumption of red meat and animal fat. I don't know how one can possibly get diabetes without the influence of sugar. Someone please help me understand. If I went to a hospital and they fed me sugar on top of sugar, I think I would just fast. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not trying to die of diabetes or become obese, for health reasons.
He has demonstrated time and time again that type 2 diabetes can be reversed on a plant-based diet quickly and easily.
Recent study shows more plant-based food sources could help prevent heart disease.
I can guarantee that if you go plant-based for at least 3 days, your stomach will feel better, your digestive tract will definitely heal.
Within 3 weeks, the expectation is people will feel so much better. Their digestion is better, their energy levels are better, less painful periods, on down the list, such that by the end of 3 weeks, their own body is telling them this is the way to eat. So it's no longer a doctor wagging their finger in their face, but I mean, you don't know how good you're gonna feel until you give it a try.
Huh? Actually, all the positive things I mentioned, minus the reversal of disease, which I thankfully don't have, happened when I lowered my intake of sugar. Funny that. The writers go on to show examples of a long-lived vegan athletes, and so on. Most of what I understand about such anecdotes is that most of them were not vegan since birth, especially not born to vegan parents, and a decent number of them wind up quitting at some point. The short-term success of a meat-eating human not immediately dying for lack of animal products for months or years is not surprising. I know humans are resilient enough, but you push yourself too hard and you break down. So them quitting is also not surprising. I'm not learning anything here. They featured celebrities as well, which is laughable.
But behind the humour came more serious pundits, who without any consideration for what the guests were saying wanted to derail veganism.
What the hell are they? Just put the bloke or woman on his or her tractor and let them go and feed the sheep or the cattle and take them to market. It's been known fine for centuries.
You're laughing there. Do you think gas chambers are funny, Garth?
Little Joey, yeah, just make me laugh, honestly. You've got no idea.
We have been farming animals for hundreds of thousands of years.
Does it need to be moralized in any way, shape, or are we not just meant to eat the thing because it's food for us?
Those who prefer oat milk to milk, almond milk to milk, tend to be pallid, spotty, gaunt, anemic, ill, politically weird, and get very little sex as a result of those things.
We are omnivores. Meat is part of our diet, and I say if there are environmental problems, sort those out and don't just sort of, turn us vegan, because you're going to end up with serious dietary problems for many people.
I guess I'm supposed to feel sorry? Meat eaters get their fair share of negs as well. Also, I want to point out that it doesn't stop at just simply feeding people a plant-based diet. It's not that simple. The caveat is that, for lack of proper nutrition from animal sources, people wind up requiring supplementation. It's not a soft suggestion. It's not a lackadaisical flick of the wrist type thing. You can literally die. You can literally eventually die if you do not get proper supplementation.
But it was events in the Netherlands that took centre stage. City Haarlem became the first in the world to ban meat ads in public. And in another world-leading move, the Dutch government unveiled plans to reduce livestock numbers by 30% in a bid to combat climate change.
This part immediately follows the previous part. I literally expected the writers to mention something about health here. It's very telling that they chose not to, that it's right back to environment. Weird editing. It went on and on for a while, with nothing that I felt was worth commenting on. Things about farmers going vegan, things about climate change.
Amid the warming, the deforestation, biodiversity loss and ocean acidification, the question was, how can we transition society away from animal agriculture? Not just at a pace driven by those in the climate and vegan fringes, but for all of society, in a way that was scalable and realistic, allowing consumers to have everything they enjoyed before in terms of taste, texture and sensory pleasure, but without the devastating environmental implications.
Again with the taste pleasure stuff. It's not by accident that the most nutritious food for our species tastes good to us, and it's no one's fault. The food hits your tongue, and your body recognizes nutrition. It's a life-saving mechanism, a product of millions of years of adaptation to life and the fight for survival on this planet. Lack of meat at times drove us to manipulating plants to our benefit. We made them produce more edible parts, we made them bigger, sweeter, and we have them yield more than their natural counterparts. And now we eat them as though they were ever meant to take center stage in our diets. Most of the first world is plant-based and dying of preventable disease, and It can all be attributed to our willingness to sacrifice animals and humans alike for the taste pleasure of nutritionally inferior and disease-causing plants. The writers go on to compare non-nutrition-based technological advances to food technology. They related it to getting the products that we want, again, sidestepping the health aspect. I understand that people are worried about the environment, but I cannot see the point in doing things to improve the environment at the cost of human life. I'm only actually concerned with it as it relates to us and our health.
It is time, as George Monbiot has put it, for a new ethics, a 21st century morality, a wider moral compass. We have to challenge everything.
As grassroots advocacy gained legitimacy, change also came from the top. Kellogg set up a dedicated plant-based division. Nestle, the largest food and beverage company in the world, announced it will be releasing an alternative protein to replace every single animal protein. And Burger King trialled a 100% plant-based menu in a number of restaurants worldwide.
One of the scariest things about this is humans are advocating for something detrimental to their health. Food companies work out a way to answer to them and profit off of that detrimental behavior. And we create a cycle within which we lose even the most minimal sources of animal nutrition that we rely on to keep us going in an already plant-based world. Here's a newsflash. They're making junk food. They're making food that is just going to make and keep us unhealthy. Vegans feel helpless in their pursuit of change, and honestly, I do too. I have to face the fact that the average person doesn't give a shit about their health. I don't know about you, but I care about my health more than I do maintaining my addiction to the diabetes, obesity, and cancer-causing addiction fixes pumped out by these companies.
The Burger King in Leicester Square, which is their flagship restaurant, has decided to go fully plant-based vegan for a month.
To see these big name restaurants embracing this really shows you what the future is.
One company is trying to put the meat back in meat alternatives, and some investors are betting big.
Plant-based products gained real estate in restaurants and supermarkets throughout the year. Bio-identical precision-fermented dairy started to be sold in various countries, and news came out of meat even made from air.
We grow our protein, we apply culinary techniques, and then we create meat out of it. That's how we go from air to meat. We make air meat.
You don't have to go and take any cells from a cow. We know the amino acid sequence of all of the proteins in dairy, and from that amino acid sequence, you can work backward, transcribe that into a DNA sequence, and then we take that DNA sequence and insert it into the genome of the microorganism.
I guess the idea is that we eat like crap anyway, so how much more could trying any of this experimental garbage actually hurt us? I don't want it. The video goes on to mention that Big Meat is trying to control the narrative and put down plant-based alternatives. It is mentioned that real meat has weird things added to it. Yes, we know. We know people are willing to sacrifice human health for profit. There's an awful lot of pot and kettle action in this conversation. For me, it's easy. First, what is the most nutritious source of food for humans? Primarily ruminant animal meat and other sources of animal goodness found in fish, dairy, and eggs to help round out the meal. Great, let's eat cows then, firstly. What do cows need? Grass. Great, let's feed them grass. Where does grass come from? The soil, the earth, okay? Great. How do we make healthy soil? Cow poop. Great, let's doubly make healthy food for cows so that the earth, humans, and cows are all well fed. That's it, full stop. No fancy research required. My intentions are to do things that are cyclically beneficial. Animals are going to die for our food regardless, so we may as well make them the integral part of the cycle that they have grown alongside us to become.
Yeah, farmers across the U.S. and Europe are keeping their organic and free-range chickens inside amidst the worst outbreak of avian influenza in years. More than 35 million birds have been wiped out this year alone in one of the worst bird flu outbreaks in U.S. history.
As the H5N1 bird flu strain affected various continents, African swine flu also wreaked havoc on Thai farmers.
Because factory farms cram so many animals tightly together in filthy conditions, they're actually ideal environments for diseases like bird flu to break out. They're basically super spreader events on steroids.
They go on at length about this. It's simply more proof that humans put profit ahead of health. Unhealthy animals equal unhealthy humans. There's no doubt about that. On a side note, I don't find this scaremongering effective, as it is impossible to keep any species of animal, including humans, fully clean. Disease will always spread among us and our food in a multitude of ways because we share this earth with so many different living things. You don't want to risk it, you don't want to live. That's what it means to be living in a world you are trying to adapt to, instead of a world that was made for you.
Research in 2022 confirmed that a plant-based diet could reverse type 2 diabetes, lower the risk of dementia, improve weight control, tackle cancer, and provide performance-enhancing benefits for various types of exercise.
I've been made privy to the fact that a lot of the research that is presented is either misleading or just flat out lying. Sometimes just reading the abstract will make it clear that the title is stretching the truth. If you believe this information on face value, you are doing yourself a disservice. The makers of the video were so kind as to not list their sources in the description box. After checking the abstract of the one titled, Taiwanese vegetarians are associated with lower dementia risk, there's something noticeably missing from the details of the subjects of the study, and that is how the researchers could possibly know what these people actually did and how these people actually lived over the course of 10 years. People lie about things, they forget about things, they put things in ways to make themselves look better. Unless they were all fed the same food in the same environment and did the same exercises and were observed 24 hours a day to check if they ever drank or smoked, we cannot trust why the outcome was what it was, if we even find it compelling at all after looking at all the data. This is not just for this study, this is for all nutritional studies. So, it's hard to make statements about association when thousands of people were left to their own devices for 10 years and reported their behaviors via questionnaire. They go on to introduce vegan chefs making waves on TV again, I guess trying to get me to care based on something as inconsequential as because celebrity.
We're not even told that historically, plant-based food is our food culture. Like, we didn't start on a plantation. We started in Africa eating fresh foods, and our foods and vegetables were medicine.
Culture is important, but not more important than health. So even if what she's saying is true, it's not a motivating factor in what I would choose as what I should primarily focus my diet around.
Try vegan?
I want meat.
Just meat?
Sounds good.
Pulled pork.
Oh, I'm so hungry. I could eat a horse.
Just meat delivered fresh to your door with a free gift for new customers.
Try going vegan today.
I really like this commercial because the message is so good. Had they eaten the sandwich, bread and all, they would be much more likely to get sick. If it was a healthy pig and they subsequently brought it to slaughter, they could have so much more nutrient-rich meat, organs, and bones to support and promote the growth of their minds and bodies. The parts they don't eat could be returned to the earth as food for soil. Animals truly are more than meat. The earth would perish without them and humans with it.
Now, why is it wrong to slap a cat but not to put pigs in gas chambers for a bacon sandwich?
Well, it should be wrong to slap animals generally. It's not wrong to kill an animal in order to eat it, though. I should hope I don't have to explain the difference. I also find it very cute how vegan activists mention particular foods like hamburgers or in sandwiches, as though how you consume the meat after the animal is already dead matters to the fact that the animal died. This cow was slaughtered so that you could have a hamburger. Would eating it raw make any difference in regard to the cow? The video continues with more "animals are our friends" snippets. Hey, I don't have anything against animals. They just so happen to be our food and our key to survival here. So we should treat them with respect, to be sure, but they're still going to die for us to eat plant-based or not. And if it's not okay for us to kill animals to sustain human life, then it's not okay for humans to coexist with them. It can't happen any other way. Some documentaries are plugged, and problems within the animal agriculture industry are highlighted.
So I am not afraid as an agricultural storyteller of talking about things like institutionalized animal cruelty because it makes it real. And, you know, I'm going with this. No, I think I'll leave it there.
And it goes on from there. Yes, humans do terrible things. Sometimes people rape people. It doesn't mean we should ban sex. It just means a call for tighter regulations. I'm comparing these two things because they are most vital to our success as a species. The constant is that people will have sex and consume animal products, so how we go about doing it, what we allow and don't allow, is what we need to focus on, with the primary goal being human health and safety. And not enjoyment, though nature has taken care of that part for us.
Towards the end of the year, activists began speaking out about a wide range of animal industries. And lawyer Wayne Seong was put on trial for entering a pig farm illegally.
2 animal rights activists are facing felony, burglary, and theft charges and 10 years in prison. The activists went into a Smithfield food factory, filmed the deplorable conditions, and also rescued a dying piglet.
The attorney holding the trial against Wayne Young did not allow the courtroom to see the pig footage, because as they claimed, it would cause an emotional reaction within the jury.
How am I supposed to read this? This is a good thing for them, right? In life, we make choices and we deal with the consequences. If you want to make real change, you need a lot of money and a lot of power, and you have to make sacrifices. You've got Burger King even more willing to shell out diabetes in a bun than ever before by taking out the one thing that made their products even remotely nutritious in the first place. So you're winning, right? Pick and choose your battles carefully and just for the part you want, right? And yes, there is a time and a place for showing crime scene footage, and depending on how graphic it is, people can determine if it's okay to show in court or not. How is this problematic?
Towards the end of the year, universities pledged to go 100% vegan, high-end restaurants began choosing vegan menus, and cities around the world endorsed the Plant-Based Treaty in a bid to tackle climate change.
Yeah, they keep showing videos about how they're winning, so good for them, I guess. It's terrible for the environment, for animals, and for people. But for these people, with a dream to ruin everything one highly processed burger at a time, it's coming true, so yay? This is how the video ends.
Climate crisis is a problem because it causes suffering to individuals, human and non-human. And whether an animal is a sea turtle in the ocean, a giraffe in a zoo, a cat at home, a chicken in a factory farm, or a fish in the ocean, their life, their suffering matters to them. And shouldn't that be the only reason we need to care about them too?
I suppose for some people it was a strong ending or something. I found the whole video a bit disjointed and weak. I find it curious that there are no related links in the description box as of February 9th, 2023, as I'm writing this script. There don't have to be, but it makes it impossible for me to take this video and its content seriously. My intention with this video isn't to convince people not to go vegan or vegetarian or whatever is in between. It's mostly to fill in the blanks where huge questions should have popped up in the skeptical mind. Did you find this video compelling? Why? Because of the celebrities? They aren't scientists. Because of the shoddy research that they didn't bother to cite? Because they told you without any proof at all that it would help the environment? Is it because you love animals and you were looking for other people who love animals to give you a short-sighted and misguided look into how to quote-unquote save them? Is it because you want to improve your health and you're desperate to have taking and injecting supplements and frequent doctor visits be your new normal? I'm sorry, I can't keep my cynicism at bay. Thank you so much for watching. All comments and constructive criticism are welcome. There are a lot of crazy things going on in the world, but we're here. Be having a good day.